Boom! Hey, how is everyone doing? My name's Kurt. I'm a Daddy Draws, and this is our Monday afternoon live. We always get together every Monday afternoon and draw either a landscape or a seascape. And today, in celebration of the 4th of July, that's this week, we're going to draw this really cool urban scene from Philadelphia. Old city, the old city of Philadelphia. See, if you ever come to Philadelphia, which is about an hour and a half from where I live, there's different areas that different areas of the town have different names. So you've got Fish Town, you've got Old Town. Those are the only two that I can think of off the top of my head, but there's many others. So this is an older section of Philadelphia. And I thought it would make a great exercise in looking at one-point perspective. Okay? So if you're ready, I'm ready. Who's in the house here? We've got Helene, who's back. We missed you as well, Helene. We've got Nanette and Betsy and Cindy. Okay, let's get started right into this here. Let's see what I got. Let's go a little bit darker value for me. Get a new layer. Okay, let's go ahead and start with a frame or a square that we're going to draw this picture in here. So I'm just going to come up here, straight down on the sides here. Okay, there's that color there. I'm going to grab one other. It's always easier. We'll get one more just in case if I need it. Hey, there's Ralph coming in the backside there. Welcome, Ralph. Okay, so, my approach to showing you how to draw, especially using perspective in city or urban settings, I don't bother trying to find the vanishing point. What I want you to do is really more use perspective grids to your advantage. Because sometimes the vanishing point could be way off the screen. Of course, in this case, since it's a one-point perspective, it's on the screen. But that's generally not the case. So you really need to figure out how to draw something without actually locating the vanishing point. So let's go ahead and go through this. So here's the key is, what you want to do is you want to think big. What's the big shape? What's the big idea? And then you kind of like put that in, and then that kind of leads you to a smaller ideas and then the details. And when you get done, it's not too bad. It's pretty close in perspective. So let's do that. So when I look at this picture, this is the first thing that I see that jumps out in my head. I'm looking at something like this. I'm looking at that right there. That's the main wall, you see? So let's start off with getting that shape. And look out here. I'm at the top of my page here. I'm going to put a little dot. That's where I'm going to start coming into the page. And then at the bottom here, I'm going to come in right about there, you see? And then this vertical right there at the end of that row house. Whereabouts on the page is that vertical, right? So let's see here. It's kind of over here. It's kind of right there. You see, there's the top, and maybe there's the bottom like that. Okay, very lightly. Let's make this. Let's draw this light here, and then let's get the bottom here. Let's compare those now. Let's make a comparison. So let's look at the bottom line and let's use the cartoon check. That means you look at your work and then you look at your drawing and you go back and forth and see if you got that angle. Going back and forth. Okay, I think I got that angle pretty good. I'm actually relatively happy with that. Now let me take a look at the top angle. Oh, I don't like that at all. Mine needs to be a little bit more angled. So I think it needs to be more like that. Maybe I didn't make my... How is that looking? that's looking, I'm going to make an adjustment here because I want to get that angle right. Look at that. Wow, there you go. Is that better? Okay, it's getting there. It's getting there. I'm making some slight adjustments because if you get this right at the beginning, it's going to make all the difference in the world. Okay, look at that. I think that one looks pretty good. Cartoon check. Okay, I'm happy with those angles. So take a second. Get those angles down, okay? Get those angles down. Now let's build our perspective grid onto this. So how do we do that? Well, let's just say I'm going to go, there's the letter A and there's the letter B at these 2 points. This right there is a halfway point between those. So let's very lightly just kind of put a little mark right there. And then coming over to the other side, you can even look at the side of the page. If this was to, now let me show you this here. I'm going to zoom down here just so you can get the concept. I want you to understand this, right? Now visually, if this was to extend off, there's the, you see, there's the line right there. And then where is the halfway point? So trying to define the halfway point is going to be right about there. You see that? That's about halfway between C and D. Right there. Okay, so let's come over to our page, take a look at this, and I'm going to be maybe right about there, okay? So very lightly, we could draw a line just like that. Keep it light. Now, if this happens to line up with something on our picture, great. If it doesn't, no worries. That's not really what we're trying to do right now. We're just trying to create a perspective grid. Okay, now this next line, you could probably just kind of guesstimate. Look at that. You could kind of guesstimate where the halfway point is. And you could do the same thing up here. You can kind of guesstimate where that's going to be. And you could break it down again if you want. And maybe one more time down here. So that's one perspective grid. Now let's come to the other side and do something similar. So I'm going to really look at the road here. So this is where I'm going to start. Right there. I'll tell you what, I'm going to change this. I'm actually going to start with the base of the building. Right about here is the base of the building, you see, and it kind of comes like this. So let's come over here, put a mark right about there. This mark's going to be up there. All right. And then I'm going to look at that angle there. All right. We're going to get that angle there and the angle up here. All right, let's just very lightly divide those in halves. Just like that. All right, let's get the flat sidewalk in place now. So look at this. I'm going to erase some of this here so that we don't get confused by it. And I'm looking for, look at right there. You see that it goes flat, and this is like about where the corner is. You see that? So let's come over here and draw just a straight line. We can put a little dot there if you want. And then here's the curb, okay? Right there. You see that? It's right there. So where is that on our page? So we're going to come right about there, I think. Hey, Jan, how are you doing? Okay, we can connect those. Okay, that's a good marking. Let's jump over to the other side, right about here. This is like the edge of the road. You see this? And this is going to come all the way up to about there. Let's add that as well. We're going to kind of come in here. It's going to be something like that. Now, one other big piece of the puzzle here that I see is there's like a building. Look at this. There's a building way up there, you see? So, maybe this is the top of the building right here. And look at it goes toward the vanishing point. So let's come up here to the top. And I'm going to be right about maybe there. I'm just going to kind of guesstimate. You know, all of these lines over here are going to converge to a single vanishing point. So we could just kind of guesstimate. Let's put one more in. Look at this. The center stone in this alley is kind of important, right? It's right there. So if I look at where is this located on the page? It's not half. It's a little bit more right about there. That's where I think it is. So this is going to go up the alley just like this. So these are, we haven't even drawn, all we're doing is put in a guide, put it in general guides that when we sketch this thing out, it will keep us on the road. You can almost think of these as guardrails. If I used to live in Southern California, and when you would drive up to the mountains, it was very steep. And so it was a 2-lane road, and they would have these guardrails to keep you from, you know, if you got crazy in your car, you just bounce off the guardrail. This is all what these things are. It's just guardrails. Hey, John. If we're drawing traditionally, what type of pencil? John has a great question. What type of pencil would you recommend for drawing a perspective grade? Well, I always recommend that you use a 2B or a 4B pencil. But of course, when you're doing your perspective grid or an underdrawing, this would be considered an underdrawing. You want to hold your pencil as light as possible so that it doesn't take up too much lead. And of course, when you're using pencils 2H, 4H, just remember H is for hard. The higher up you go, the harder the lead is. B is the soft. So the higher up you go of 2B, 3B, 4B, it gets softer. That's why a lot of times you'll get, if you're in an art class or something, they'll say get an HB pencil, an HB. That is dead center. But man, I shift it. I always go a little bit darker on that. So that's why I recommend go with a 4B. A 4B pencil I think is ideal. All right, good question. With digital, what we can use layers and hide them. Yes, you could. In fact, you could even dim down the layers, which is a big, I could turn the opacity down like this, and that would help. But I like to try and, even though I'm drawing digitally, I like to try and create the same scenario that you would have if I was drawing traditionally. So that's why, I don't go super dark. I kind of keep my lines light by holding my pencil lightly. All right, great question. Thank you. Okay, with that being said, let's go ahead and let's get some of these key doors in here, because this is important. And of course, I think the most important door on this is this one right there. You see? Okay, it's that one there. So let's get these verticals that I just drew. So there's one vertical. And then the other one's going to be, look at that. It's pretty skinny there. So let's look at our picture here. And I'm going to be right about there maybe. And I'm going to do one. How's that look? Maybe a little bit more to the right. And look how light I'm drawing this first. And make sure that you go skinny. Something like that maybe. You could even come over here and get this door. Look at that. Right there as well. That would be another good one. So let's see. Let's come over here. I'm looking at that distance there. Okay, so top of the door, I'm going to guess it's about there. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this. And look, I'm following the grid. And then the bottom of the door is going to be right about there. And once again, I'm kind of following the grid. Now, of course, these doors are all lined up. So top of it's going to be here. Look at that. And the bottom one is going to be here. And they're lining up. And I know you're excited about these stairs. I am too. So let me show you how I would draw stairs. So here is the bottom of the door. Now watch, I am kind of an ant. I'm thinking of myself as an ant right now. Right? This is the edge of the sidewalk. So I'm going to walk down the wall. I'm going to take this across the sidewalk a little bit. All right. Then I'm going to do this. Look at that. Boom. That gives me about the right slope there. You see? Other side. We're going to come down the wall. We're going to cross. Same thing. But this little dot right there, this is going to go back in perspective. This is the front stone. And then I'm going to go right back up to the corner, just like this. Take your time. That was a number of steps there, so I don't want to rush it here. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes to get that one down. In the meantime, I can tell you a quick story about, first time we were ever in Philadelphia. I was just a kid, 17. I think we were there for the anniversary of in 1976. I think my parents took us there, and it was a great experience. We were there for 4th of July, and the Boston Pops played right outside the Independence Hall. And of course, we walked around. Fast forward to today, or like 2020, and it ends up that we had moved back east, and now my daughter lives there in Philly, really close to this very spot that we're looking at right now. She lives in Old Town, so it's kind of always weird when we're walking around there visiting her, and I think, wow, I would have never guessed back when I was in 1976 that eventually my daughter would live here. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Okay, let's keep going here. All right, so look, let's use that base. Now this is going to measure where the other, see, I'm going to extend this line out right there. And then this other door, here's the back. I'm going to come straight down the wall. Straight out, just like this. And I'm going to have to guess because the width of the door is coming off screen just a bit. So we're probably something like that. And and this is a little bit different from the picture, but that's okay. It's okay to make things a little bit different. Okay, let's leave that alone and let's get, if I look down this alleyway, there's another door. It looks like there's one, maybe two, but we'll just do one more door. So it's going to be way over here. It's barely a blip. Look at this. There it is right there. And once again, I could come down here like this. Following that same trajectory. Okay, let's get, there's two windows here. So let's see, the top of the windows will line up maybe with the top of the doors. That's reasonable. And then, so let's see now. I'm just gonna kind of guess their position. We're here, right? Just like this. Following the grid, and another one maybe right here. Following the grid. Okay, let's jump up to the top and get this window on top here. So there's going to be, here's the top of this one, and then the bottom. Look, it's following the grid, and this is going to be right above that doorway. You see, just like that. I'm going to move down here. I'll put another window. This isn't exactly like the picture, but this is going to give me a lot of structure there. So there's another window. Oh, now check this out. I made a mistake. See, if you don't pay attention, you look at this angle I just drew. Totally, you see that? That's totally off. I need to draw that more in line with what's going down here. So it should be more like that. Then it looks like there's another one here. And maybe another two down a little further. Making sure that all your verticals are straight up and down. Okay, I think we're coming along nicely on this picture. Remember, we're just trying to get the structure. 3 phases to your drawing, which I like to teach, is that you get the general, you get the like the gesture, and then we go into construction, and then we go into detail. Okay, the gesture on this particular drawing was getting that overall grid. Now we're getting into the construction of it. All right, let's talk about stairs here. So when it comes to stairs, the first thing I want to do is get this slope, you see? Then what I'm looking for is, this is the corner of the first step. Here's the corner of the next one. You see this? And these all are that top corner, and that's where they are pointing toward the vanishing point. So let's do that there. Let's get those in. So there's the first one. And now this might be a little bit different from the picture, which is going to be fine. Let's just go halfway here, and then, okay, that looks pretty good. Maybe another one right there. And then down here, another one. And then the next, what you want to grab, then you want to get this inside. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. You see that? So let's see where that would be. So this might be right here. So I'm just going to, oops, we'll put a little right there. Right there. Okay, so I'm going to come straight down. Kind of straight out here, and this isn't a, this is just a, this isn't an architectural drawing. This is simply a sketch. Maybe something like that. And now I can continue to use that same technique. Make sure that these line up like this. Drop down. Drop down. These are all horizontal. Okay, goes back to the wall, goes back to the wall, just like that. Sure. Sure, John. I love your questions. Right. Let's get this guy over here. Now, this guy, we don't have to be as technical. We could just kind of fudge it just a little bit because he's in the distance. We just have to get the idea. Should they be closer to the wall? Should the first, let's see, Ralph says, should the first set of stairs be closer to the wall as you go from right to left? No, what's key, Ralph, is this bottom step right there is lining up because this is going to the vanishing point. This is going to the vanishing point. You see? So that bottom, even though like I messed up on this guy here and made that first step flat to the ground where this one here, the step is going up. Still, what's most important is that these are lining up and they're all going to that vanishing point. I hope that answers your question. All right. Okay, let's get that curb in place. And that curb is just going to kind of come here. And we could just, make your line a little thicker here to catch that little bit of a shadow. You are welcome. Okay, then we've got this cobblestone street. You see this cobblestone? So for you want to make sure that this cobblestone is going to, I'm putting some surface lines. Surface lines are across the surface. They're going to kind of guide me to make sure that I'm drawing my cobblestones nice and flat. So here's that center cobblestone. You can see I'm just eyeballing it, really. All right, just eyeballing it here, and then these guys, I'm just going to put some of these horizontal lines, but I want to make sure they're cut so the edges are going back to that vanishing point. You see that? Same thing over this side here. See the spaces are all kind of heading back to that vanishing point, which, remember, we don't know where it is, and that's okay. All right, look at this. Right over here, looks like there's a cement slab. You see that? And a curve, and kind of another one right up here in the foreground. And then I'm just going to come in here with a little bit of tone. And here's a detail I just noticed. Look at these buckling of these cobblestones. So if you could take your eraser and just kind of cut away a little bit from that edge there. Look at that. That looks excellent. Oops. It'd be helpful if I had the right color there. Other thing too is look at the side of these stairs are dark in value. So let's go ahead and sharpen. Get those. Don't be afraid of dark values. A lot of students make the mistake of not going dark on their values. See, that will help create the edge. Same thing on the other one here. And this guy too can use some value. The further away they get, the lighter in value. Objects that usually are closest to us, they get darker in value. Let's add a little detail here. So look at this. Notice this. There's like a drain pipe right here. You see that? I'm going to erase that green. Okay, we could add that. So that's going to be maybe right there. These doorways are dark, so I'm going to leave a little bit of an edge there. And this one as well. Keeping it loose. All right, I like this. This has a nice street light. Look at that right there. I'm just going to keep it almost like a silhouette. And then there's another one, and this one, let's make sure it's staying in perspective here. So we'll put this one down here, a little bit smaller. Okay, let's get these flags in place. Let's get these flags. So right about there, the flagpole's coming out, and it's almost coming out halfway. You see, it's like halfway in the page, like this. And then the tip of the flag is, and I'm just proportionally taking a look at it here. The bottom angle of the flag is going to match that flagpole. And this is going to be a little bit of a... I'm not even worried about the stars per se. And I'm not even worried about the drawing underneath. I'm just going to draw right on top of it. I've always liked just quick sketches. And you can see kind of the drawing underneath. That's always nice. Let's drop that other flag in as well. It's going to be right about here. And how far does that come down? Okay, it's going to come here. Kind of sticks out there. And I don't see the field of stars, but I'm going to add it anyways. Then further down, there's another flag. Let's get this one in as well. It's a little bit smaller because it's in the distance. Okay, let's work on this tree. These trees are key. So I want you to think of your trees in two aspects. I want you to think of leaves and the bark, all right, and the branches, all right? But I don't want you to think of your leaves as individual leaves. I want you to think of them as mass, like mass areas of value. So if you want to think of you drawing let's just say your leaves are a bunch of sheep, a herd in a field, and you're going to wrap a fence around that field to keep all of those sheep contained in an area. So that's kind of what we're going to do here. So I just kind of want you to look at this. I'm just kind of drawing this containment area, and I'm going to drop in a lighter value, consistent value here. It's going to, at some places, have kind of the sky peeking through. And I'm just going to, wherever I kind of see leaves on this, I'm just going to add this overall value all the way down. Don't overthink this. Just give me a value. And then once you got your value in, go in twice. And then, but look at the leaves and like, okay, it's maybe a little darker shape right there. And look, there's a darker shape right here. You see that? And then it gets really dark down here. So what I'm trying to get you to do is to draw two distinct values. Two distinct values. All right, let's bring in some trunks. All right, so look, when I draw a trunk, I think of a tapered shape. You see that? There's a tapered shape. And then usually I'll come to an edge, right? Now this is a trunk, and I'll go in a different direction. So I'll come in like this, and then I'll make it a little bit, see, just a little bit more tapered, a little bit more skinny. So let's come in here like this, and then we'll maybe pop one up there, and this will be kind of fat right there, and then it gets a little skinnier, goes off the page, and maybe there's another one over here. And then when it comes to the branches, I'll go 1, 2, 3. You see that? I use straight lines. And usually I'll go a line, and then I'll come back, and then do another line, then come back a little bit, and do another line. You see? A line, come back a little bit, another line, come back. You see this little crossover? I don't want to do that, all right? I want to come up, and then I want to start my next line right on that line. Come back a little bit. You see? You don't want to have this little crossover thing, all right? So let's come up here now and come back a little bit. Now I could come in and randomly add some like little outlines of where the leaves might be. Look at that. And I also add some surface lines. Now there's there's thousands of ways that people draw trees. But this is the way that is quick for me to draw them. It lets the viewer know that this had a lot of trees. And you could even kind of come back in and redefine some shapes and lines if you want to make them pop out just a little bit. John, you had asked, you said earlier, look at this over here. Now there is some light poles over here, look at that. So I'm just going to draw those with some silhouettes. And then I'm going to add a little bit of tone for this building behind here. And then in the background, I'm jumping real kind of quick now. Yeah, what was your other question, John? I think you had one. Now look at this building in the back here. I'm just kind of adding some quick little lines. And now that I've got all this, now I could kind of go in and start adding some details. I might even add some value here. Now, this picture is quite dark, so I've elected not to go that dark in my picture. All right, there's some windows there. You know, speaking of the 4th of July, I was reading the other day that Benjamin Franklin made multiple trips to England trying to stop what was going to happen. I didn't know that. I knew that he was involved with, did I say Lincoln? Benjamin Franklin. I know that he was heavily involved with trying to get France involved, but I didn't know that he had made multiple trips before the war even broke out with visiting King George or whoever and trying to get them to rethink what was going on. In the reference, the verticals for the doors, and yes, it's because of the lens of the camera, the roundness of the lens. You know, you'll get a fisheye. A lot of times you'll get a fisheye approach. So that's why they are curved. When you get to the outer edges of that curved lens, it's going to create that fisheye just a little bit. Oh, that's a good question. Okay, so I'm putting some bricks in here, but I'm making sure that, yeah, that was a great question. I'm just kind of making sure that these bricks are all adding toward the vanishing point. And I'm not putting them all in. I'm just kind of indicating just roughly where they would go, you see? And if you want these stairs to pop out, whenever you have white on a page, if you want the white to pop out, then add a little value around it. You don't have to make it brighter, but darken the area around it. And that will cause your whites to pop out just a little bit. And I'm going to add just a little bit of tone here because we've got these trees that are covering that are casting shadow on this cobblestone alleyway or street. Okay, I think that's going to do it. That'll give you plenty to chew on. And I hope you all have a great 4th of July. My name's Kurt. I'm a dad who draws. Thanks for watching. And just let me be a quick reminder. Make sure that you like and subscribe to the channel if you've never seen this before. If you're looking for a great group to really improve your drawing, join our Facebook group. The link is going to be in the description. And if you want to join my private class, we meet every day for about 40 minutes. Today, I think that we're going to continue a little short series on drawing trees. And you can jump on board. It's a smaller group, a little more intimate, And I try and give them a lot of attention because they're paying for it, of course, but I do thank you all. And that's called the Daily Draw. I'll put a link for that in the comments as soon as we're done here. So thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Great questions. Thanks to Ralph and John. Now go out there, make your day great. We'll see you guys later. Have a great 4th of July. Oh, 4th of July is on is on Thursday. Okay, we'll have a class also on Wednesday night. That's the 3rd. All right. Here's to you.